So there's two things we need to do to get our portal actually functional, which means when you step inside, you're in this other world, objects will render as you expect, and when you step outside, they're only visible through the portal. Now remember, we got our materials. I say materials because at the moment there's only one, but we'll probably have more in the future with our stencil test. Says that's a mouthful. Stencil test. Okay, so it'll either this, for example, at the moment we're inside the portal, everything's rendering. If you had a big scene, it would all render as normal. But then if we set it to is equal to the one that our portal has set on the stencil, then it'll only be visible through the portal. So how we want to do this is we want to say if the main camera triggers a portal by colliding with it, then we'll do a test of the positions of the two objects. If the main camera is in front of the portal, then we're inside this portal. If it's behind, then we're not. And so there's only a few little things we've got to do. First thing is set the collider and the rigid body of the main camera. Even though we're not using physics, we do want to get those trigger events. And the second thing we're going to do is we're just going to create a script which is going to do that testing of the which object's in front, and then change the materials property based on that. Okay, so first thing we'll do is we'll add a rigid body to our main camera, turn off gravity, turn on is kinematic because we're not using physics. We're also going to add a box collider. Now you might notice, have a look at our box collider. It's really big, it's really fat, it's really high. The only problem with that is it means that if you're walking alongside the portal, we might get an accidental trigger where we really only want it to work when you actually go through the thing. So down here in size, let's change this X value to 0.01, 1 centimeter, and also the Y value. So the height and the width is only 0.01. And now we can have a look at our camera and see we got this nice rod going out the front and the back of it. So this will work if you're walking backwards into the portal or walking forwards into it. We'll still get those trigger events. Speaking of, make sure we turn our box collider is trigger to on. Okay, and now we can create our script. So go folder, scripts. Okay, and for the script name, let's think about it. What's the name you want? You want kind of maybe like a interdimensional transport. Interdimensional transport. That's perfect. Interdimensional transport. Okay, we'll open that one up. Now, as I mentioned, we are going to have in the future probably a few different materials. Let's say your designer has a beautiful object that uses maybe like 3 or 4 different materials. We want to be able to assign each of those materials to this object, and for each of them have some sort of behavior. So, sorry, did I say to this? I meant to this script. We'll go public material, right? And that's an array. Materials. Now I'm hoping that'll serialize. If it won't, we can have another look. All right. Now all we got to do here is we got to have our listener for the event of a trigger, and what event that is the stay trigger. So as it collides, like say for example, there's on trigger enter, which only happens on the instance and like the instance of collision, and then there's on trigger stay for as long as it's inside the two overlapping colliders. So we go void on trigger stay, and that gives us a collider. We can call it other, right? And we only want to register this if it's with the main camera or whatever object it is that's moving forward. So we say if other.name is not equal to main camera, we can return. We say, whoopsie daisy, we say return. We're not interested in it if it's not that one. Okay, all right, looking good. Now we just want to test the transforms. For simplicity's sake, we're just going to say the portal is always facing forward. So if the camera's in front of the portal, we're inside this world. If the camera's behind it, then we're outside. So we'll say if transform.position. This script's going to go on the portals game object. dot position is greater than other dot position, and now we're talking about our camera, transform dot position. If that's the case, then you're not inside the portal, which means, oh, sorry, excuse me, we're actually only talking about the Z value for now. Maybe we want to do a fancy like, oh, what if the portal's rotated? What if, that sort of thing. But for now, we'll just keep it simple. Okay, so if this is the case, then we want to set this variable on our materials. Let's go back. Let's make this absolutely clear. Okay, so we'll go back to our material, and we'll have a look. So which one is it? Equal, not equal. They're kind of abstract terms. Let's have a look. Stencil test, equal. Okay, so at the moment it's equal, which means equal to that 1 that we've set on the stencil test, which means you're inside outside this dimension. I'm even tricking myself. Okay, so we want to set this variable to equal if you're outside of this other dimension, and we want to set it to not equal if you're inside it, so render the whole scene. Okay, so now we remember it's the number 3 and 6. We've got two options. We can use those numbers and hope that we remember them, but there's actually a much nicer way of doing it. If we include using Unity engine renderer, Unity engine rendering. Okay, I thought it was renderer. All right, using Unity engine rendering, we can say compare function. If we have a look, compare function. Beautiful. All right, so now we've got compare function and we've got all these. We got our enumerator here, so we don't have to magically remember the numbers and probably get in all sorts of trouble. Okay, so now we say materials dot for each. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to iterate through each of the materials in our list of mat in material. Oh, now hold on a sec. Getting me syntax confused. All right, for each of our mat in materials, we're going to say mat dot set int, and this is how we set the variable of our shader, which is the variable is called stencil test, and the value that we're going to set, because for this one, actually what I'm going to do is I'm even going to do a little comment, so we're very explicit about what's going on. We say outside of other world. Okay, mat.set int. Okay, and now we're going to have to cast our special enumerator to an integer. So int compare function dot equal. So that testing is going on. Okay, beautiful. Now we say else, otherwise, and I'll put another comment here. We say inside other dimension. All right. Otherwise, we'll do the same thing. We go for each var mat in materials mat.setInt the same integer, yeah, stencil, the same property rather, stencil test, and the variable we're going to set it to is going to be not equal, which means as it would normally render. Compare function dot not equal. And you know what? I'm going to make things even more explicit and even more clear about what's going on by just adding a little log. Just debug.log outside of other world, and otherwise debug.log inside other world. All right. So I believe that's everything we need to do for our on-trigger state. One thing we might want to consider, because we're setting the variables of materials, which are objects that exist outside of our scene, it means once we hit that what do we call it? Oh yeah, hit play mode. It's not going to reset. We're used to objects, variables and stuff resetting when you hit play mode. That won't happen. So I'm going to have a go at something. I'm not sure if there's the best way to do it, but I'm just going to try. Void on destroy. This should call every time just before our object closes. Before our object closes. Just before our scene ends. And what I'm going to do, I know this could be refactored. I'm just going to copy and paste for now, just make sure that we got everything working. Let's see, not equal. Yeah. So when we end, we're going to say we're inside the other dimension. The reason why I want to do that is because when we're working on the scene, we want to be able to see everything, not just through this portal. And yeah, and when we start, what we really should do is, again, another little copy paste. I'm just going to make sure that, yeah, okay, so at least to test the functionality, we can have it all messy. Yeah, so when you start, everything's going to be as if you're outside this other dimension. Okay. Now we can test this out. Let's see how we go for errors. It's all looking good. We can go and grab our portal window. This is our functional objects in the scene, and we're going to attach our script, which we called interdimensional transport. All right, and now we've got the lovely list of materials. At the moment, there's only going to be one, but yeah, like I said, there could be any number. And we'll just add our stencil filter to this. And you know what? While we're here, might as well. I'm also going to quickly add a little script to my camera so I can move it around with the key controllers, make sure it's all working, do a little bit of debugging. So let's call this camera controller. It won't take long. All right, and just in the update, I'm just going to go transform.translate. Translate. All right, and now we're just gonna. What we're gonna do is just on the input axes. So we say input dot get axis. All right, left right is going to be horizontal. Okay, is 0 on the y-axis, and on the z-axis it will be input dot get axis vertical. All right, and that, see daisy, if I got that wrong, transform to translate x, y, z. Oh, no, it should be right. Object reference. Oh, you know what? I need a lowercase t for that transform. Okay, lovely. All right, now I drag my camera controller onto my main camera. Let's see how that goes. Yes. Okay, and now let's test it out. See how it goes. All right, all loading fine. Go through. Oh, look at that! Yay! Look at that. We're inside this other dimension. We go through again. Yep, because we're on the front. However, we go back through, and oh, we're outside. Okay, so we go. Yeah, go. Let's see. Okay, so we're on the outside of the dimension. On the inside, outside, inside. There is a little bit of that flickering. I don't know. Maybe we can come up with a way of making that look even nicer, but yeah, for now, this is pretty dang good. All right. What's next? Okay, so next we're going to create a scene, and we get a better sense of what this is actually doing and why we're doing it. And we have something real, like we got a whole field of, like, we're going to make a really beautiful lakeside park, and actually, like, yeah, just make things look really good and get a real sense of how it's working. And then we'll be deploying it to ARKit, ARCore, and maybe even Vue4. All right.